I'm Baki Osanova and you're watching A News. Now let's take a look at today's top stories. Police make arrests over a huge fire in Hong Kong with dozens killed and many more still missing. Donald Trump calls for every Afghan national who entered the United States under Biden to be investigated after the shooting of 2 National Guard troops. And Pope Leo XIV arrives in Ankara as he makes his first trip abroad since becoming pontiff. The death toll from a major fire in Hong Kong has climbed to 55 with 279 people still missing. The fire broke out in a public housing apartment block undergoing renovations on Wednesday. And authorities say 3 construction company executives have been arrested on suspicion of manslaughter. Authorities say flammable materials at the site may have allowed the fire to spread quickly. Laura Westbrook has this report from the site of the fire in Hong Kong.
As you can see behind me, firefighters are continuing to spray these buildings with water, and smoke is still coming off these buildings. You can taste it in the air. This is still an ongoing rescue operation. Where I'm standing now, there are still dozens of fire trucks as well as ambulances with many firefighters still on scene. We are also hearing from officials that the investigation is now underway, and scrutiny is turning to the materials that were used in this renovation, with some of those materials which include protective mesh sheets as well as plastic. Those might have failed to meet fire standards. Also, styrofoam material was also being used in the renovation, and obviously that is highly flammable and may have been one of the reasons why this fire spread so quickly and so intensely. Police say that they have arrested 3 men on suspicion of manslaughter, 2 directors and 1 engineering consultant from the construction company, with officials saying that this investigation remains ongoing. Meanwhile, emergency shelters have been opened for those affected. Residents can also and loved ones can also register their missing loved ones and family members. One woman told me that she is worried because she still hasn't been able to contact a friend who lived in the building behind me. And so as the rescue operations are continuing, for those who are waiting for news, it is also a very anxious time. Laura Westbrook, A News, Hong Kong.
We're just bringing you some live pictures here as firefighters continue to extinguish the fire that engulfed residential high-rise buildings in Hong Kong, where at least 55 people have died. Like we've reported, 3 people have been arrested on suspicion of manslaughter over a deadly fire which engulfed a high-rise residential complex in Hong Kong. Nearly 300 are still missing from the blaze. A further 45 are in hospital in a critical condition, with around 900 people also in shelters. The fire is still ongoing, as you can see, and this is a developing story, and we'll bring you more as we have it. Two National Guard soldiers were critically wounded in a shooting near the White House on Wednesday. The suspect, identified as 29-year-old Afghan national Rahmanullah Lakanwal, is in custody with non-life-threatening injuries. President Donald Trump has linked the attack to the Biden administration's immigration policies, calling it a monstrous ambush-style attack and vowing to review all Afghan entries under the previous administration.
2 National Guard soldiers were shot and critically wounded on Wednesday in downtown Washington near the White House. Investigators identified the suspect as Rahmanullah Lakanwal, a 29-year-old Afghan national. The suspect, who is in custody, was also shot and had wounds that were not believed to be life-threatening. Speaking in a video address from Mar-a-Lago on Wednesday night, President Donald Trump linked the shootings with the Biden administration and illegal immigration.
He was flown in by the Biden administration in September 2021 on those infamous flights that everybody was talking about. Nobody knew who was coming in. Nobody knew anything about it. His status was extended under legislation signed by President Biden, a disastrous president, the worst in the history of our country.
Shortly after Trump's remarks, Washington said it had stopped processing immigration applications from Afghanistan. Since then, the Trump administration has asked for 500 more National Guard troops to be deployed to D.C. The move comes after Washington previously asked a federal appeals court for the original number of soldiers to remain there after a judge ruled the deployment was unlawful.
President Trump has asked me, and I will ask the Secretary of the Army, to the National Guard to add 500 additional troops, National Guardsmen, to Washington, D.C. This will only stiffen our resolve to ensure that we make Washington, D.C. safe and beautiful.
Nearly 2,200 troops currently are assigned to the Joint Task Force operating in the city, according to the government's latest update.
Well, as a result of the shooting, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services has suspended all immigration processing for Afghan nationals indefinitely. Our correspondent Tamim Bahis has more details from Kabul.
Authorities say the shooting happened just blocks from the White House in what investigators are calling an ambush attack on Thanksgiving Eve. The suspect has been identified as 29-year-old Rahmanullah Lakanwal, an Afghan national who entered the U.S. in 2021 under Operation Allies Welcome, the Biden-era program that resettled Afghans who aided U.S. forces during the war. Officials say Lakanwal was wounded in an exchange of gunfire before being arrested. He had no known criminal history and was living in Washington state. President Trump called the shooting an act of evil, an act of hatred, and an act of terror. He said his administration would re-examine all Afghans who entered the U.S. during Joe Biden's presidency. Hours later, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services announced it had halted all Afghan-related immigration cases, saying the protection and safety of our homeland remains its priority, while security and vetting protocols are reviewed. A senior Trump administration official reported that Lakanwal applied for asylum in December 2024 and was approved this April, 3 months after Trump took office. A News attempted to contact Afghan officials for comment, but has not yet received a response. So far, investigators have not yet identified a motive, and officials say their review of the suspect's background is still underway. Tamim Bahis in Kabul, A News.
Tensions between the United States and Venezuela are escalating as Washington expands its military operations across the Caribbean. The United States says it's targeting what it calls narco-trafficking networks linked to President Nicolas Maduro's government. Maduro has rejected allegations accusing the United States of using military pressure, and sanctions undermine his leadership.
The United States says it stepped up military operations in the Caribbean, striking suspected drug trafficking vessels. Washington accuses Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro of ties to criminal networks, allegations he rejects. At a military hospital in Caracas, Maduro spoke out against sanctions and praised the perseverance of the country amid the American military buildup in the region.
With the sanctions from the years 2016, 2017 and 2018, which took away 99% of the country's income, we nevertheless persevered. And now we are finishing the year 2025 with an offensive of inaugurating public works. Let's keep building.
US maritime operations have intensified in recent months, destroying alleged narco-trafficking boats and killing dozens. Officials say the campaign targets criminal groups they claim operate with support from inside Venezuela.
And I want those watching who see the narco-terrorist drug boats blowing up to understand that we're deadly serious about this mission. And in understanding that, in waging this war on narco-terrorists, we're willing to go on the offense. Go on the offense in a way that changes the dynamic for the entire region.
Maduro says the US is using drug trafficking accusations as a pretext to undermine his government, insisting Venezuela will resist any attempt to remove him.
The UK government has unveiled a £26 billion tax-raising budget aimed at funding welfare reforms and easing energy costs. The budget includes measures to cut borrowing, increase spending on public services and removing the two-child benefit cap from April.
UK Chancellor Rachel Reeves delivered her budget on Wednesday after the Office for Budget Responsibility accidentally published key details early, an error that overshadowed her speech. The budget freezes income tax and national insurance thresholds for 3 more years, introduces a new tax on high-value properties and applies a mileage-based charge for electric vehicles. Speaking in the House of Commons, Reeves outlined her key budget measures.
I said I would cut debt and borrowing, and I meant it. Because of this budget, borrowing will fall as a share of GDP in every year of this forecast. Our net financial debt will be lower at the end of the forecast than it is today, and I will more than double the headroom against our stability rule to £21.7 billion, meeting our stability rule and meeting it a year early.
Reeves said the budget would also tackle fraud and tax avoidance while helping working families, with energy bill cuts and freezes on NHS prescriptions and train fares. The removal of the two-child benefit cap was welcomed by many lawmakers, but some Londoners expressed concern over the increased tax burden. Britain's fiscal watchdog has revised down economic growth forecasts, but confirmed the government's stronger fiscal buffer under the new plan.
Now, ahead of the budget being unveiled, farmers from across the UK drove tractors into central London. They blocked a roundabout near Trafalgar Square to protest government farming policies. The demonstration also targeted recent inheritance tax changes affecting family farms. The Labour government's budget included further tax increases, which raised concerns among farmers and investors. Now, protests over upcoming spending plans have now reached Bulgaria, where thousands gathered in the capital to oppose the government's 2026 budget proposal. Protest organizers have cited higher taxes and social security payments among reasons for the demonstration. The budget raises government spending to 46% of GDP, largely funded through higher taxes and public debt. With the government holding a parliamentary majority, the budget is expected to pass. 3 police officers were injured during the protests. The European Parliament has proposed setting a minimum age of 16 for social media use in a bid to protect adolescents' mental health and ensure age-appropriate online activity. The resolution, which also calls for limits on AI and certain algorithms, has sparked mixed reactions from parents and the public across Europe. Let's take a look.
On Wednesday, the European Parliament approved a resolution calling for a minimum age of 16 for social media access. The measure aims to ensure age-appropriate online activity for adolescents and to reduce the mental health impact of excessive social media use. According to a draft published in October, children under 16 would only be allowed on social media with parental or guardian consent. The proposal also sets a minimum age of 13 for social media platforms, video sharing services, and AI companions. Concerns over social media's impact on children's health and safety are rising worldwide. Companies including TikTok, Snapchat, Google, and Meta platforms have faced lawsuits in the United States over their role in the mental health crisis. Parisians expressed mixed reactions to the initiative. Some said social media exposes children to harmful content, while others highlighted the potential for self-directed learning.
It's both a positive and a negative point. Positive in the sense that we're not directly instilling in them the desires and harmful ideas that social media can promote. But on the other hand, allowing them access to social media lets them learn on their own, discover for themselves what to do and what not to do, and how to use social media effectively. And I think it's also crucial to support these young people under 16 with social media.
French President Emmanuel Macron has previously called for a ban on social media for children under 15, although each EU member state would still set its own age limits. The resolution also calls for a ban on loot boxes, virtual items purchased with real money, and age-inappropriate recommendation algorithms, as well as measures to ensure content is designed appropriately for different age groups.
I think that banning it is perhaps a bit harsh, a bit extreme. We need to regulate it. We need to find ways and means, perhaps to limit access, perhaps also to limit the time spent. We also need to work on parental responsibility, because actually we can decide a number of things at the highest levels. But above all, we should not absolve parents of their responsibilities regarding the protection of their own children.
Well, listen, I have 3 grown children who are a bit older. They experienced the beginning of social media, and I don't think they suffered from it. However, it's clear that what needs to be banned is hate speech on social media, that's for sure. I have a problem with a total ban on social media because it's also a way to educate oneself. My daughter, for example, discovered many books of literature thanks to social media, so it's not all negative.
The resolution is non-binding and does not directly establish policy.
And the Pope has arrived in Ankara today as the country gets ready to receive him. It is his first trip abroad since being elected as the Catholic leader in May. He will join events with Patriarch Bartholomew I, visit the Sultan Ahmed Mosque, hold Mass at the Volkswagen Arena, and meet President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Ankara. He is expected to make appeals for peace in the Middle East. Pope Leo XIV will then head to Lebanon. We'll have more on the Pope's trip after the break. See you shortly.
Inside Politics delves deeply into the heart of global issues shaping our world today. Join me for your go-to source of political analysis from across the region and beyond.
Said the world never sleeps, but who's ready to wake you up with all you need to know about what is happening across the globe and in the region?
We are. Daybreak is live every morning, bringing you a complete wrap-up of the stories from overnight and all the news already happening in the world.
The biggest global headlines, the key regional developments, the must-read stories shaping the day.
We show them, we discuss them, we guide you through their meaning. We give you the news and a first look at the key headlines.
I'm Nadia Jani.
And I'm Lou Brown.
Join us, it's Daybreak here at A News.
Welcome back to A News. Like we reported just before the break, Pope Leo XIV is in Turkey today on his first trip abroad, kicking off a two-nation tour that begins in Ankara before moving to Istanbul and then Lebanon. His meetings in Turkey, including with President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and a symbolic prayer at Lake Iznik with Patriarch Bartholomew I, are drawing intense global attention. Joining us from Lisbon to unpack the significance of this visit is religious affairs expert Felipe Aviles. Mr. Aviles, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Felipe, what makes Pope Leo's choice of Turkey as his first foreign destination so symbolically important?
Well, the highlight of this trip is the celebration of the 1,700 years of the declaration of the Creed of Nicaea, as it was known at the time, which is currently in modern-day Turkey. And this was a very important date for the unity of the Christian Church, and is still a point that all major Christian churches have in common. But this trip was planned already for Pope Francis, so it was delayed because of Pope Francis's death.
Yes.
It was supposed to have taken place in May. But the Pope Leo is carrying on this trip in the continuation of Pope Francis's papacy. What really makes the trip special is the adding on of, well, obviously the trip is always very special, but what makes it his own, so to speak, is adding Lebanon to the trip. That was the Pope's own decision. So in a way, we could say that this trip is almost the passage from the Pope carrying on the legacy of Pope Francis to coming into his own and making this pontificate his own. That from now on, he will have completed the things that Pope Francis had planned already and that he is carrying on, and he will be able to set his own agenda from here forwards.
Felipe, the Pope meets President Recep Tayyip Erdogan today. What key messages should we expect from that meeting?
Well, I think there is a common concern for peace in the Middle East. Obviously, Turkey is a major player in the region as well, and as one of the most important Muslim majority countries in the world and in Europe, it has a special role to play in promoting peace in the Middle East. The Catholic Church has also invested a lot of time and energy and prayer and diplomacy in trying to secure peace and stability in the Middle East. And peace in the Middle East for the Catholic Church is very important because there are many Catholic communities, many Christian and specifically Catholic communities spread throughout the Middle East, in the Holy Land, obviously, especially in Palestinian territories, also in Lebanon, and then in Iraq and Syria. So these are areas that are that neighbor Turkey, specifically in the case of Syria, which is of great concern to the Church. And the trip to Lebanon will also be important because of the Church's concern for Syria. But there are also places where Turkey also has a great diplomatic weight. And so I'm sure that peace in the Middle East and also dialogue between Islam and Christianity will be some of the main points on the agenda in the meeting between President Erdogan and Pope Leo.
Pope Leo is also addressing civil society and the diplomatic corps. What signals is he likely sending with these engagements?
Well, again, the issue of the Middle East, but more widely, I think the Church's struggle for trying to reach peaceful solutions to conflicts that are going on at the moment in places like Ukraine, obviously, between Ukraine and Russia, but also some of the more forgotten conflicts, like in the Sudan and also in Myanmar. So the Pope will always have the issue of peace at heart. But also we know that this Pope is deeply concerned with issues to do with technology and the importance of technology and the influence of technology in society. So it is likely that he will also have a few notes on this. He's already spoken about it briefly the other day when addressing youth in America and saying that artificial intelligence, for example, can never replace human relations. And this is the same, I think, between states. And he will be addressing important figures of state and be able to tell them that if we want to build peace in the world, we have to rely perhaps less on technology, which is used to such an extent to develop weapons and more effective and more destructive weapons, whereas human relations are really the foundation for peace between people, between nations, and between civilizations.
Felipe, more than 80 journalists are accompanying the Pope. What does this level of media attention tell us about expectations for his leadership?
Well, I think it's normal to have this amount of media attention for any papal. Of course, here we have the added ingredient that it is his first papal trip. So obviously, all eyes on the Pope to see how he behaves. He is a much more discreet figure than Pope Francis was. He's less prone to speaking off the cuff, less prone to making grand gestures that capture media attention. So it will be interesting to see how the media plays with this, perhaps having less to go on, less spontaneous remarks to go on, and Pope perhaps following the written schedule more closely. This will perhaps give more weight to his written words and his speeches.
Of Ankara.
And so I think we can expect a lot of focus on his written messages, which are really the heart of what he plans to say to the people he will be addressing.
Felipe, the prayer at the Lake Iznik with Patriarch Bartholomew I carries strong historical and interfaith symbolism. What should we read from this moment?
Okay, well, this is fundamental, and this was really the cornerstone of this trip already when it was planned by Pope Francis. Pope Bartholomew holds a special place in the communion of Orthodox churches. He is not equivalent to the Pope for the Orthodox. His role is one of first among equals, but he has a very important presence as a primacy of honor amongst Orthodox patriarchs. And so this will be a way of Pope Leo, for the first time in his pontificate, stressing and underlining the importance of dialogue and friendship between the Catholic and the Orthodox churches, which are the two main churches in the Christian world. Now, the Orthodox Church is going through a period of division. We know that there is division, political, diplomatic division between the churches of Russia, which are very aligned with Russia. Russia, of course, has the most numerically the most significant of the Orthodox churches. And so there is a struggle within the Orthodox churches, which the Pope naturally can do little about. But by stressing his friendship with Bartholomew and showing that they are on the same page, he also lends some weight to Bartholomew in the struggle. But it is also a way of showing that he wants this climate of friendship that Bartholomew did so much to deepen with Pope Benedict XVI and then with Pope Francis to continue into this papacy. And that the final goal of this dialogue is to build friendship, which will then make the doctrinal discussions, which are difficult, make them a bit easier, break down walls of suspicion, so that if we can finally achieve unity between Christians, which is something that all Christian leaders hope for very dearly.
Now we're seeing the live pictures of Pope visiting the Anıtkabir in Ankara. And also we can continue. How do you expect Turkey's domestic audience, religious and or political, to interpret this visit?
Well, we know that the religion is an important aspect in religion in Turkey and in Turkish politics as well. We know that there were protests about this visit, and that there is a struggle in Turkey currently between its Islamic identity and its deep traditions of secularism. I think the Pope may try to address this in the sense of highlighting that national identity and religious identity are not necessarily opposed to a healthy secularism. The Church has long defended that a healthy secularism is one that respects religion, but it has to respect all religions. And there is an important minority of Christians in Turkey, not only the ancient communities of Armenian Christians who live still in Turkey, but also Catholics and many Orthodox, also, especially obviously in Istanbul. And also Assyrian Christians closer to the borders with Syria. And so there is concern about the well-being of these communities, and the Pope will naturally ask President Erdogan to continue to safeguard the presence of these Christian communities and perhaps improve their conditions and their feeling of welcome by the Turkish state. There's also the issue of the Halki Theological Seminary, which belongs to the Orthodox Church. There's been talk recently of reopening the seminary, and Pope Leo may feel that his one or two soft diplomatic words to this effect may go a long way to helping his brother, Patriarch Bartholomew, in achieving this goal which the Orthodox Church has longed for a long time.
Felipe, finally, what should the world be watching most closely in the next 48 hours of this papal tour? Well,
as I said, with Pope Francis, the world was always on the lookout for spontaneous gestures, unexpected gestures, not only words, but also his efforts to go out of his way to greet the poor, the immigrants, the downtrodden. And of course, immigration also will be a very important topic in this discussion. We know that Turkey is a gateway to Europe, and for a long time, Europe has passed on its responsibilities to Turkey of trying to stem the influx of immigrants, and this has led to great difficulties on all parts. And so the Pope will naturally address this as well. And so I think what we should focus on here mostly are the written speeches, which often we don't take so seriously because we look for the gestures for these grand moments. But what the things that are written in the Pope's speeches usually are deeply significant and very, very carefully thought out. Obviously, the Pope doesn't just write these by himself. He has the contribution of his diplomatic corps, of the people who are in Turkey, who are on the ground, who know the atmosphere. And so we can expect these words to be very pointed towards the needs and the wishes of the church in Turkey, but also to address the concerns of the Turkish society and the Turkish political and diplomatic classes as well.
Felipe Avilés, thank you very much for being with us and sharing your insights. We appreciate your time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
And now we are bringing you a live picture from Ankara, where Pope Leo XIV has arrived for a historic visit to Turkey's capital. The Pontiff will be meeting with Turkish officials, including the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, to discuss interfaith dialogue, peace initiatives, and strengthening ties between the Catholic Church and Muslim communities. He is currently visiting key cultural and religious sites, highlighting the importance of mutual respect and cooperation. Local authorities have implemented tight security measures, ensuring the Pope's engagements proceed smoothly as crowds gather to witness this rare visit. After the break, we'll take a look at the key stories shaping the region. Stay tuned. Welcome back to A News Now. Let's take a closer look at the key stories shaping the region. Georgia's long-standing aspiration to join NATO has erupted back into political debate after sharp remarks from Parliament Speaker Shalva Papuashvili. He argues that Georgia has fulfilled every obligation expected of a future member, yet remains stalled at the doorstep of the alliance. NATO officials, however, point to political concerns and insist that their open-door policy remains intact. Our Nini Nikolaishvili has more.
Georgia's path toward NATO membership returned to the forefront this week after Parliament Speaker Shalva Papuashvili delivered one of his strongest critiques of the alliance to date. Standing in Tbilisi, he accused NATO members of prolonging indecision and pointing fingers, while leaving Georgia exposed to growing security risks. Papuashvili's central argument is rooted in Georgia's long record of cooperation with the alliance, particularly its role in Afghanistan. He reminded Western partners that Georgia deployed 10 times more troops than the Netherlands, the country represented by Mark Rutte, NATO Secretary General. Georgia, he said, fought and bled alongside NATO soldiers. For him, that makes the absence of a concrete membership decision ever more difficult to justify. The speaker also warned that this prolonged ambiguity leaves Georgia and similarly Ukraine in a dangerous in-between zone, neither protected by NATO's security guarantees nor entirely outside its strategic orbit. He pointed to Ukraine's experience in 2022, recalling President Zelensky's plea for clarity on NATO membership just weeks before Russia's full-scale invasion. According to Papashvili, the lesson is clear. Uncertainty carries its own risks. NATO leaders, however, framed this issue through a different lens. Mark Rutte's earlier remarks, the ones Papashvili was responding to, stressed that any Euro-Atlantic country may express its desire to join, but added that developments in Georgia have raised concern among NATO members. The alliance has long maintained that membership is based not only on military cooperation, where Georgia has been a strong contributor, but also on political stability, democratic governance, and alignment with NATO principles. Nini Nikolaishvili, Tbilisi, A News.
Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi visited Paris on Wednesday, during which he met with his French counterpart Jean-Noël Barrot. It's a rare visit which focused on Tehran's civilian nuclear program, as well as swap of the citizens jailed in France and Iran. Turaj Shiralilo has more from Tehran.
Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi met with French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot in Paris on Wednesday in an infrequent visit by an Iranian top diplomat to the French capital in recent years, while exchange of Iranian and French prisoners as well as Tehran's nuclear issue topped their discussions. According to a Foreign Ministry press release issued in Tehran on Thursday, they reviewed developments in the West Asia, Russia-Ukraine war, international security, as well as the nuclear program of Iran. Araghchi and Barrot last met in September on the sidelines of UN General Assembly in New York, during which their talks focused on release and extradition of one Iranian and two French citizens. In the Paris meeting, Araghchi referred to the arrest of Iranian citizen Mahdieh Esfandiari and welcomed a French court's decision to release her on parole, calling for acceleration of the process of her acquittal and release. He told France 24 TV channel that Iran is ready for the exchange of French prisoners Cécile Kohler and Jacques Paris with the Iranian citizen, which he expected to take place over the next 1 or 2 months. Araghchi's visit to Paris came after France, together with Germany and the UK, known as E3, proposed a resolution joint with United States at the Board of Governors of International Atomic Energy Agency in Vienna last week, calling for Tehran's cooperation with the agency. During Wednesday's visit, Araghchi criticized performance of the European Troika at the UN Security Council and IAEA board meeting, urging a responsible and independent approach based on international law in accordance with Non-Proliferation Treaty. Turaj Shiralilo, Tehran, A News.
Azerbaijan's Foreign Minister Ceyhun Bayramov says he held a constructive and warm working meeting with Italian counterparts in Rome. He noted that the talks focused on issues including energy, economy and cooperation on multilateral platforms. In yesterday's meetings, Bayramov also held talks with Italy's Senate President, the Speaker of the Chamber of Deputies, and met Pope Leo XIV at the Vatican. The 12th meeting of the Turkic State's Media and Information Working Group is underway. Officials from member countries are focusing on media cooperation, combating disinformation, and building a unified communication space. Aytan Shukurova is there with more.
Representatives from member countries are gathered to strengthen media cooperation, enhance information security, and shape a unified communication landscape across the Turkic world. The meeting opened with remarks from Rasim Baghrov, Director of International Relations and Documentation at the Media Development Agency of Azerbaijan. He noted that the joint initiatives carried out within the organization are already building strong institutional ties among Turkic-speaking countries.
For Azerbaijan, particularly the Turkic world, the cooperation within the Turkic world in general on a multilateral level and also on the scope of bilateral relations, it is very important, and that is a priority direction of cooperation. So in this sense, today's meeting is a very good illustrative example of how Azerbaijan, what attention Azerbaijan pays on the cooperation within the OTS.
Talking the stage next, Ömer Kocaman, Deputy Secretary General of the Organization of Turkic States, emphasized that media cooperation must evolve, innovate, and shape a shared communication culture across the Turkic world.
We are adopting an action plan for 2026, which is consisting of certain programs and projects in the field of media sector, with particular attention to cooperation among news agencies and national TV institutions. So we will have capacity building programs. We will have some competitions among our news agencies under the theme of tourism and culture. Program exchange will happen among our national TV institutions.
Following the opening addresses, participants review the current implementation of the 2025 action plan, begin refining the framework for 2026, and continue discussions around the draft communique for the upcoming ministerial meeting. The panel delivers a strong message about how global information threats are rising rapidly. Speakers stress the stronger critical thinking and verification skills, accelerated adoption of digital media practices, and coordinated platforms to defend against information manipulation.
Now we'll take a short break. Right after the break, we'll discuss Azerbaijan's Foreign Minister Ceyhun Bayramov's high-level meetings in Italy and what they mean for the deepening Baku-Rome strategic partnership across politics, energy, and regional security. Stay with us.
Hello and welcome to Primetime. What a show we've got lined up for you. In a complex world, clarity is power. Two hours live, diplomacy dissected in a spin-free environment. That's Prime Time with me, Guy Schoen, weekdays on A News. Welcome to A News, unfiltered news and analysis from the region and beyond. From Washington to Beijing, Tehran to Kabul, to Tbilisi to Tashkent. Hello, I'm Jay. That's challenges.
Today is the third.
We're with you 24/7, taking you live.
to the front lines of the day's biggest stories. Welcome to Gabala. Hi, Candy. One important note to clear. I'm here.
Azerbaijan and Armenia.
Hello, we're reporting on the 8th of November.
Reporting from Paris,
Dar es Salaam, Tel Aviv,
Washington,
London,
Moscow,
Kyiv, Berlin,
Rio de Janeiro, Beijing, Bangkok, Tbilisi, Tashkent, Almaty, Kazakhstan, Port Sudan, Tehran, Islamabad, Istanbul,
Kabul, Port News.
Welcome back to A News. Azerbaijan's Foreign Minister Ceyhun Bayramov visits Italy for high-level meetings with the leaders of both chambers of the Italian parliament, as Baku and Rome look to deepen their strategic partnership across politics, energy and regional security. Joining me now is political analyst Orkan Nabiev, who is here in Baku. Mr. Nabiev, welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you for hosting me.
Thanks. Mr. Nabiev, how significant is this visit for the overall trajectory of Azerbaijan-Italy relations?
The meeting emphasized the growing role of parliamentary diplomacy as a pillar of the bilateral strategic partnership. As we know, the Italian is one of the main, not one of the main, is the main partner, economic partner of Azerbaijan. It's like trade partner of Azerbaijan. And saying that, the visit of the Azerbaijani Foreign Minister Ceyhun Bayramov to Italy and meeting with the President of the Italian Senate, Ignazio La Russa, to discuss the bilateral parliamentary diplomacy is one of the strategic points of our partnership. So both sides, I agree that it's critical to strengthen interparliamentary ties. Also, it's not a bilateral, but also regional and international parliamentary platforms. So Azerbaijan can cooperate with Italian Parliament in different levels. It could be in the European Parliament. It could be the PASE, the Parliamentary Assembly of Council of Europe. Mm-hmm. Yes, Azerbaijan stopped. It's opposed its partnership, but in the future, Azerbaijan can restart the relations. It's OSCE, and it could be the different parts of the parliamentary partnership. And in addition, it's institutional links. It's like concrete sectors for cooperations, energy, trade, economy, culture, education, and humanitarian initiatives that the Parliament, the Senate of Italy can emphasize it to the executive power, to the Prime Minister and the other ministries. Despite that, it's like this party on the charge of the government, or after the next elections, another party will be charged.
Mr. Nabiev, how would you describe the current level of strategic partnership between the two countries?
Our strategic partners, it's like it has many layers. The first, the base, of course, the Azerbaijan and Italy, it's a partnership on trade. Italy is the biggest strategic partner of Azerbaijan. Italy buys the major part of the Azerbaijani petroleum that comes from the Baku to Ceyhan, via the Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan pipeline. The secondary, Italy is a last point of the TAP project, it's like a continuing of the TANAP project. It's a gas pipeline from Baku crossing the Azerbaijan, Georgia, Turkey, Balkan countries, and from Albania to Italy, to Puglia region of Italy. So energy security of Italy, let's like the major part of the energy security of Italy, is Azerbaijan on charge of it. And from another side, Azerbaijan strengthening the relations with Italian military companies like Leonardo. Azerbaijan bought several jets for training jets. Azerbaijan equipment of the special forces made in Italy. Azerbaijani marine forces, they cooperate strongly, closely with Italian Marines and Navy. And Azerbaijan is interested to bring the more made in Italy to Azerbaijan. It could be the construction section, it could be culture. It is like different sectors of the economic cooperation. So Azerbaijan and Italy, they are very, very it's one of our main partners in the European Union. So we are the strategic partners.
So what role does Italy play within the EU when it comes to the South Caucasus?
I would like to remember one episode, but it's a modern episode, but with this one episode, it was a public episode. But inside the European Parliament, there's many layers that I'm also the personally witnessed. And there's other dialogues that under on the closed rooms, but public one when the Prime Minister of France, Lecornu, start to speak about against Azerbaijan, Azerbaijan restoring its territorial integrity and sovereignty. Deputy Foreign Minister of Italy, sorry for my language, but he just closed him, he shut him up, saying that this is you are France playing the bias. France always took the side of the aggressor. So Azerbaijan is just restoring its territorial integrity, and what Azerbaijan does in the frame of international law and justice and humanitarian law. So saying that as Italy publicly covered Azerbaijan in the European Union, but also we know the episodes, there's also the things that from different politicians, different parliamentary members, we see them, when we talk to them, that they always support Azerbaijan in parliamentary delegation level in the European Parliament or the European Commission.
Minister Bayramov briefed Italian officials on the post-conflict regional situation. How is this message received in Italy?
It's a very good message because Italy, despite that there's a economic partner of Azerbaijan, but Italy is a Christian country, and Italy is a Catholic country, and there are many. One of the biggest Armenian diaspora in Venezia, and they always played this role of Christianity, first Christian nation, and etc. And their diaspora tried to use the ignorance of some European citizens, at the same time the Italian citizens, to push these narratives to incite some small communities, religious groups, and through them they wanted to reach the big politics and the Senate and the Italian Parliament and the Chamber of Representatives. However, Azerbaijani's narrative that this conflict is finished. We now creating the bilateral relations with Armenia. We are toward to the peace building with Armenia. We are in the stage of the reconciliation. Gives the Azerbaijan this privilege that saying that there is no, there will not be any war. There is no war in Caucasus, and those communities, that diaspora members, they cannot do anything after this. Also, the Italian government can ensure their religious groups, very religious communities, that what Armenian diaspora says, this is a lie. Above all, there's another thing that Italy can be good investment, can bring the good investment to the occupied territories of Azerbaijan, liberated territories of Azerbaijan. They can bring bring their investment, they can bring their technologies, they can start construction processes, they can open their factories. So we are all in the both sides from economic perspective, at the same time in the narrative building perspective, which is not less important. It's one of the most important parts, like social construction building in Italy. It's also the saying that the conflict is over. It's a very good sign for Italians, for Italian investment and Italian society.
Orkan Nabiev, thank you very much for your insights, and we truly appreciate you joining us today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for hosting me. Thank you for your invitation.
You're up to date with world news for the hour. Thank you for watching and stay tuned to A News for more.